Okay, I'm live on YouTube and Facebook. Whew, freezing. Okay, just waiting for people to turn up. Hello. Hello, Bonnie. Where are you from? I'm here in Vancouver, Canada. Oh, I was just down. There's a tailor here that reminds me. I was just down walking to Costco downtown Vancouver here. And I thought, what is going on around our big arena? And Taylor Swift's coming this weekend. You should see it. You should see all the activity. Holy moly. The whole area, it's just dozens of people, trucks everywhere, all sorts of equipment. So yeah, so Taylor Swift is going to be in town soon. So that's what was happening. I didn't know what was going on until I got home and I asked my daughter. I said, "What was going on?" She goes, "Oh, Taylor Swift." Anyway, hello. So where are you from? I'm here in Vancouver, Canada, and I was just complaining about all the hoopla around our big BC place, which is where Taylor Swift is. It was just a zoo. They're setting up for the concert this weekend. So, okay. Moncton, New Brunswick. Have you been here before? I think there was someone from Moncton before. Moncton, New Brunswick. Nebraska. Sorry, that's not New Brunswick. That's Nebraska. Am I right? Nebraska? What would New Brunswick be then? I don't know. Okay, so let's get going with live. How many people? Yeah, we've got enough people. We'll get going. This is my last week of these scheduled lives. I'll still be doing them. I'll be doing pop-ups. But yeah, we've got a whole bunch of different stuff going on in the business now. So yeah, anyway, so Philadelphia. Hi, Tina from Philadelphia. So my mouth's kind of frozen. I just had a smoothie bowl, so I'm all bundled up. I've turned up the heat and I've got a blanket on me. North Carolina, excellent. Does your advice apply to children with autism? I get asked that quite often. Yesterday, I had a lot of questions about that. Yes, it can, but I always say autism is more in the special needs department, so that would be more coaching. So anyway. So I'm just reading there. Okay, so, I've got nobody on, that's weird. I've got nobody on YouTube. That's usually there's someone there. So no big deal. Oh, it is no New Brunswick. It is no New Brunswick. Or no, it is New Brunswick. Nebraska. Nebraska. Oh, so it is New Brunswick. Okay, Nebraska's NE. Okay, thank you. Will I remember that? Probably not. Nebraska. Yeah, my gut reaction was New Brunswick. So I should have stayed with that, shouldn't I? Okay. Anyway, I'm just going to introduce. Oh, Iceland. Hello. I can't say your name. I don't know how to say that. I don't even want to try it. I'm going to mess it up. Welcome. Okay. I'm just going to introduce myself first of all. If you're new, welcome. If you're not new, welcome back. My name is Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. I'm a mother, and I'm also a grandmother. So if you want to look at my website, BratBusters.com, you can see my free behavior board, my boot camp courses, toddler and 3 to 12-year-old, or you can look into coaching. Yukon. Hi, Kelsey. I've never seen it spelled that way, Kelsey. Is that how it's usually spelled? Isn't it Kelsey? I don't know. That's what I wanted to name my daughter, but my husband at the time didn't. So I really like that name. He wanted something else. So yeah, we picked Amy. But yeah, I really like the name Kelsey. UK, welcome. Okay, so I'm here answering your questions. I'm also going to throw a bunch of other stuff in because it's usually the most common questions I get are about toddlers and about discipline. And I don't just want to focus on that because that's a small part of what I do. So it's more about connection, how you build a connection with your kids, toddler right through to teenager. And so I like to kind of mix it up and throw other stuff in there. But yeah, most of the questions I get are about toddlers. But if you have older kids or teenagers are actually my specialty. So feel free to ask. I got a few people on YouTube now. I had nobody on YouTube initially. YouTube is my smallest platform. But I usually get a few people on there anyway. My hair's really goofy. I was wearing a hat today. You know, when you get hat hair, you can't go back after hat hair. It's just, especially when you got curly hair, because it's all flat on the top and then poofs out. Okay. Okay, I'm going to read out, before we get going, I'm going to read out my top 3 leadership qualities, because I teach leadership parenting. And these are my top 3 qualities for a leader. Number 1 is you be calm during the storms. So when you're disciplining and your kids are all upset, you stay completely calm. Treat discipline like a business transaction. No emotions at all. Number 2 is you be crazy during the rainbows. When you're playing with them, you can be crazy, run around the house with underpants on your head, chasing them. You can just be nuts. But that's during the rainbows, right? It's all emotions, all fun. And then number 3 is be a great listener. This is more for 3 and 5 and above kind of thing, because that's more, they're more talking more. So be a great listener. You listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with. And that's especially important with teenagers. They don't want your advice usually. They just want to talk. Okay, this is from Matthew, 7-year-old hyperactive boy stuck inside for winter in the north, but also on the 3rd floor of our apartment. Oh my goodness. How can I get his energy out without making enemies of my downstairs neighbor? That's kind of a tricky one, because that's sort of more, I don't know. I don't really have any great ideas. We did a lot of balloon tennis in our house, like just, throwing the balloon around and trying to keep it up in the air. You can get 2 or 3 balloons going. That can be a good one. But also jumping can be a problem, though. So you got to be careful with that. So you have to say you can't jump and you have to keep the balloons in the air. So that's all I can come up with right now. That's sort of not my specialty, is coming up with activities for a 3rd floor apartment with a hyperactive boy. That would be very tricky for sure. Oh, what else was I going to say? Yeah, sorry, coaching's been kind of weird lately. I haven't been able to take on many new clients. I said I was going to this week, but I'd say about 50% of my clients have been rehiring me. And they always take first priority. So that's why. Hopefully maybe tomorrow or the next day, I might be able to take on a couple new clients. So if you're on the wait list for coaching, that's why. It's because I'm getting a lot of repeats. And of course, my first priority is always my existing clients. So that's what's going on there. Just if you haven't heard from me, that's why. Okay, age 8, adoptive son who is struggling with behavior at school, very rude at home, angry towards both mom and dad. Well, I don't know how old he was when you adopted him. That would make a difference. Like, I'm adopted, but I was a newborn when I was adopted, so it didn't make any difference. But if he had some disruption, some transitional issues and disruption in his life, and if he was adopted older, that could be part of it. So we'd have to work through that. But otherwise, you can just check out my boot camp course for 3 to 12 years old. That's pretty basic stuff. Like, it's really good for reference material anyway throughout the years. It goes from 3 to 12 years old, but you can just try that and see if it works. Or you can even just for free, try the behavior board. Go to BratBusters.com and you can try that. But basically you want to get structure. So I'm assuming you've had him for years. I don't quite know, like that. Like the word, if you put he's adopted, that implies that that's part of the problem. It might be a recent adoption. You see, otherwise, why would it matter if he was adopted? Because I was adopted, so it didn't make, I was new. So it was a newborn. So yeah, I'm not too sure about that, but check out the behavior board. Just set yourself up as a leader. You got to be accountable though. Leaders are accountable. Leaders lead by example. So that's why you're on that behavior board. You need to have a rule and a consequence. Your rule and your consequence is the connection with the kids. They love it when you're in trouble. They just love it. My kids loved it when I got in trouble. Boy, did they love it. So yeah, if you're not accountable, you're not a leader. How do I become a better leader? Sometimes I struggle to remain calm when the noise gets a bit much. I was an elementary teacher, so don't know why my child's noise is so overstimulating. Parenting, teaching, they're 2 different things. I couldn't teach. I'd probably jump off a cliff if I had to teach. I couldn't do it. So yeah, it's very different roles. So, and a huge portion of my clients are teachers. So yeah, it is different. But I don't know about the noise. I don't know is it happy noise? Nothing you can do about that. If it's just happy noise, I don't like to stop that God, I hated birthday parties. Oh, they were so loud. Oh, where was I recently? Oh, it's not really applicable here, but it was just like the younger people get, the louder they seem to be. It's not always true, but sometimes I notice that. So. Wobble stool for lots of sitting movement for the lady on the third floor. What the heck is a wobble stool? I'm going to look that up later. That was for the one that they said they had a 7-year-old who was hyperactive and they were on the third floor apartment. How on earth do you work off this hyperactivity? I'm going to look that up later. A wobble stool. Very good. Okay. Okay, my son this is from Wuna Gideon. Sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. My son is 10 years and I get notices from teacher he is being rude or not listening to instructions. How would I address the behavior when he gets home? Well, what's he like at home? Usually if they're like that at school, they're like that at home. Everything starts at home. So make sure that you work on your leadership at home because you can't address what's going on at school if you haven't got the home sorted out. So check out the behavior board, set it up. But if he is rude at school, have the teacher report to you and have a consequence. So in other words, put down no being rude to teacher could be a rule on the behavior board. And if he comes home, there's a consequence. Let the teacher do whatever they do at school. Never micromanage a school. Let them do whatever they need to do. But then you can also double up on the consequence. And you can say, look, I heard you were rude to the teacher. You know you broke the rule, so here's the consequence. Check out the behavior board at BratBusters.com. It's completely free, and it's all self-explanatory. I'm using my hand a lot. My other hand is freezing. I'm sitting on it because I just had a smoothie bowl, so I'm all freezing. I'm frozen from the inside out. Okay. Sorry, I shouldn't have put my arm across that way because I'm covering up YouTube. I can't answer that because I don't know the age of both kids. Like I need the ages of both kids. Hello from the warm, sunny coast. Do I really want to hear about your warm, sunny weather? I'm sitting here in freezing Vancouver. Anyway, I'll read it out anyway. From the warm, sunny coastal town of Port Shepstone, South Africa. But by the way, I lived in Australia for 20 years, so I know what it's like to live in gorgeous weather. That's why I'm even more bitter now. My grandson, Now, are you raising them? Because you're talking about grandchildren, and I don't discuss that. Okay. I don't discuss grandparenting, but you're asking on behalf of your daughter, who is the mom. So, in other words, he's resorted to screaming. With the behavior board, can we have a consequence for him not to come near his sister for the rest of the day if he screams? If not, what other suggestion? I don't know if I'd put that one down. So he's got a little baby sister and he's being a pain in the butt. I would just say something. I don't know. I would probably pick something else. That's sort of the harder one to deal with. So I would start smaller. I would almost start with a chore, like make your bed every day. It's just basically seeing how that behavior board works, get it going, master it in the first week. And then the second week, maybe no screaming, like literally, if it's like he was just screaming to get attention, it's in the attitude department sort of, but it's also sort of an action. So say no screaming. If he has a very specific way of screaming, just say none of that. If you do that, because he's 5, he's not 2, he's not 3, he's 5. He can understand that. So if he screams, there's a consequence. Check out the behavior board. Start small with that. How do I get an almost 4-year-old to be gentle with the new baby? They already understand it, by the way. If they're almost 4, they already understand it. You mean, how can they respect it? I don't know. I would just watch them like a hawk. If they're really struggling and they're really rough, I would just never leave the baby alone with that 4-year-old. Never. Never, never, never. Watch them like a hawk. So they do understand it. At 4 years old, they understand it. And just because people seem to think that they act out because they don't understand they shouldn't. That's ridiculous. They act out because they want to. They don't act out because they don't understand they shouldn't. Not at 4. It's just they don't want to listen to you. That's all. How do I explain why he shouldn't do that? They already know at that age. The other kid is 6. So 4-year-old's always annoying the 6-year-old. Was that the one? I can't remember. What was it? Always trying to get a 6-year-old in trouble. Oh, just watch it like a hawk and blame the perpetrator, not the victim. So say, I saw what you did. You got to watch him. You got to catch it. You can't just you got to catch it. You got to spend time on this stuff. I was a really good detective with kids. I was always figuring stuff out, but it takes time. It takes diligence. So I would watch and I'd say, I saw that. So then I would punish the 4-year-old. So if the 4-year-old is pushing the 6-year-old to get into trouble and the 6-year-old is just retaliating as a result of getting the 4-year-old off their back, punish the 4-year-old, not the 6-year-old. The one who starts it. Yeah, you were asking for your daughter, right? Okay. My daughter's 3.5 and truly has no understanding of danger. She is so fast and constantly run. So I'm trying to hit see more. It's not working. Oh, for goodness. Constantly, it's not working. There we go. Okay. Constantly runs away when we are in public, doesn't look back. Would that go on the behavior board? No, because that's dangerous. I would put her on a harness before we went out. And then I'd say, if you run away from us, you're going to get clipped into this leash. And as soon as she runs away, grab her and clip her in, keep her clipped in for the rest of that outing. It's going to be a really ugly outing, but there's a lesson in this. You can't run away. She's a bit old to be doing that, 3.5. She should know better. She shouldn't be doing that, but if she is, clip her in. That's life and death stuff, right? You clip them into a car seat. Don't hesitate to clip them into a leash if they're running away. There's no way I would risk that. Okay. Yeah, thanks, Tabitha. Tabitha on YouTube said she's disappointed about there won't be any more regularly scheduled lives after this week because we got this podcast going and it's just taking off. Like we didn't expect that. So we're going to be putting more energy into the podcast and we're going to be doing 2 a week now. And we've got other stuff going, but I still will be answering questions and I'll be doing pop-up lives, but I just won't be scheduling them. So I'll just do them when I'm available. And they're actually hard to do because it's an hour and a half when I do these regularly scheduled ones, and it's just me talking. Whereas when I coach all day, but when I'm coaching, it's back and forth, right? So it's easier. But yeah, this is 90 minutes of me talking nonstop. It's exhausting, I'll be honest. And I can talk, but I mean, it's just, there's no back and forth. So that's why it's kind of hard. So I'm kind of glad that it's ending. And when I do the pop-ups, I don't tend to do them for a whole hour and a half. And that's the difference. So, but yeah, we will still be doing them. Like I said, the podcast is kind of taking off. We're planning our book next year, although even that, we're not sure now. A lot of stuff's happening. So it's just my daughter and I, and we have no intentions of expanding. So we're keeping it family and we're very tight ship here. So yeah, we're just we're trying to figure stuff out and we've got to manage what we're doing. So. What if a child is misbehaving in the car? You can't remove them from the situation and take them into another room as it's not always convenient to pull over. Why don't you usually take them in another room? Misbehaving in the car, what are they doing? I need to know what they're doing. Why aren't they clipped in? Aren't they kind of harnessed in? What could they be doing? I don't know what you mean. They're misbehaving in the car. What are they doing in the car? If they're clipped into a car seat, what do you care? Wouldn't you just drive and just ignore the bedlam in the back seat? I don't quite know what you mean. I don't know. I need the age and what they're doing. So you're going to have to write that whole thing out again. 3.5-year-old screaming tantrums, cries and whines about literally everything. She is always breaking the rules. Everything is locked up, but she still finds a way. Okay, she's just screaming for leadership. That's all she's doing. So yeah, check out the behavior board, put down rules and consequences on there for every member of the family. And a leader always calms down the kids. Remember, we're not fixing kids here. We're fixing and teaching parents. So once you're a leader, that calms the kids down. She wouldn't be acting like that if you were a leader. She's just screaming for leadership. Kids need, crave, and want a leader. They don't know how to ask for it, but that's how they do it. They just act crazy, and then they're just sort of need guidance. You look at the difference in kids when you put that same kid in different classrooms. One teacher knows what they're doing and they're a good leader, and the next teacher's fumbling, trying to please them, might just be new, right? So yeah, look at the difference. So yeah, it's a leadership or lack of. So work on yourself. Check out the boot camp course for 3 to 12 years old. That might be a good fit for you. It just tells you how to be a leader in 5 weeks, or else get the free behavior board. It's all on BratBusters.com. Good for you with the growth you're seeing. We're being very careful too, because I'm obsessed with my clients. That's my main thing, is my clients all day, every day. So, and if we do too many things, I would worry that I wouldn't have the energy for the clients. So we're very careful. We're very strategic. And this isn't just about money for us. This is about, I'm trying to change things. I'm really trying to shake things up and teach parents how to be leaders. And that's very important to me. So yeah, so it's wonderful. It's with my daughter. My business is with my daughter. So we're very, very careful what we're doing, because we still want to have a life too, right? Yeah, we love what we're doing. It's funny because she says, I don't even feel like I'm working. This is so much fun. That's that. Wow. She says, I don't even feel like it's a job, because she can work her own hours. She does whatever she's in charge of all that stuff. I know nothing about what she does. And yeah, we're very lucky. We both love what we do. Hi from Texas. Hi, Yvette. Yvette. That brings me back. I think I went to school with an Yvette. I only met one. I think I went to school with her years and years ago when I was still a kid. Back when dinosaurs were still roaming. My son once said to me, he was like 3 or 4, and he goes, Mommy, what was it like when you were walking around with dinosaurs? I said, it was lots of fun, sweetie. We just put them a saddle on them. We'd ride them around. Oh, that must have been so much fun. Yeah, it was fun. I always imitate him like that. And Mommy, another thing. He actually did kind of sound like that. Okay. Ooh, still freezing and raining in Prince George. We had fog this morning here in Vancouver. 17-month-old, and I'm back to work tomorrow. Any tips? Dad's going to drop off, and I think it's going to be harder on me than him. Yeah. Make it a dump and run. So you never drag out the goodbyes or the hellos either. You don't make them any big deal about them. Just say, okay, we'll see you later. And you end on that hook. So when Dad drops the child off, just say, okay, we'll see you later. I'll see you after 3 o'clock or whatever. They're little, right? So just see you later. It's all cheery, but fast. Get out as fast as possible. Any daycare worker, any teacher will say, the hardest part is when the parent drags it all out, hangs around. It's easier on the teacher. If the faster you leave, the better. It takes 3 to 6 weeks before they really settle in, basically 3 to 6 weeks. They survive though. And it's quite interesting. There was a really cute video on, I don't know where, one of the social media platforms. And it showed I think it was over a week or two. And it showed this little wee kid. It was just probably about that age, about 17 months, in daycare. And when the first day when the parents went to pick her up, she was just running into their arms screaming. And after a couple of weeks, she was just, oh, hello, just walking over, happy as anything. They adjust to things. And there's lots to do at daycare. It's probably a lot more exciting than being home with you anyway. My kids are stuck home with me. I stayed home with them. So yeah, they didn't even get to go to daycare. There's a lot going on there. Lots to do, lots of friends to make and all that. Okay. My 7-year-old daughter has told me so many times she wants to be the only child. She has a sister 3 and a brother almost 2. She is mean to her sister sometimes. Yeah, she's just working you. Okay, she's working you. Don't react to that. Just say, oh, well. If she says, I wish I was an only child, to say, oh, well, you're not. So deal with it. It's like when my kids, they only tried this, I think, once, maybe twice. Dad was giving them a bath, and I heard them say, I want mom, I want mommy. And I said, well, you're stuck with dad, so deal with it. That was it. I remember the next time they said that, I don't know, I think it was my daughter. The next time she said that, he said, well, you're stuck with me, deal with it. Like, in other words, oh, well, you're not an only child, deal with it. Like, I don't feed into that kind of stuff, right? just working you. They're trying to manipulate you. I wish I was an only child. Well, you're not. Deal with it. That's what my mother would have said. She was like that too. Like she didn't buy into any of that manipulative kind of talk. Okay. Do you have, oh, I think I know where you're going to go with this. Crystal O'Keefe. I think I recognize that name. Do you have any suggestions for parent consequences that are not doing something fun with the child? I don't want my, I can't hit the see more button. It's not, okay. I don't want my child thinking me reading books or playing games with her is a consequence for me, if that makes sense. Yes, I get it. The thing is, they don't care. They're just so happy that you're playing a game with them. They don't analyze it. Not one kid has ever been offended by that, which is interesting. I've been teaching this for 17 years, and I remember I didn't used to put that initially because I thought it was going to offend kids. And then I realized that's the best consequence because it's something for them, right? And then not one kid has ever been offended by that they've never voiced it. So anyway, I said this just about a month or two ago. I was saying this to a client, and she goes, well, you're wrong. My kid's the first one that's been offended by that. And I said, really? Like after 17 years, your kid has actually, and I said, well, what did your child say? Evidently the child, it wasn't quite offended by it. What had happened was the kid said, well, that's not fair. Your consequence is something fun. You get to play hide and seek for 10 minutes. They thought that was fun for the parent. I thought that was so cute. So they didn't quite take offense to it, but they thought it wasn't fair because the parents get to have fun. They didn't realize that probably wasn't as much fun for the parent. But anyway, yeah, they don't take offense to it. The bottom line is that if you break a rule, you do something fun for them. There's something in it for them, in other words. They don't tend to care. They're just so thrilled that you're playing with them. Does that make sense? Yeah, don't overanalyze that one. I could be wrong this time. One of these days there's going to be one kid who's offended by that. It just has never happened. Isn't that interesting? They're just so happy. Okay. Laugh out loud, the dinosaurs. Yeah, he said a few things like that to me. He was the one that questioned everything. You know, you get a kid like that, right? He questioned everything. He always wanted to know stuff. Yeah. Oh. I like you being blunt. Yeah, I have no filter. If you listen to our podcast, you'll see the difference between my daughter and I. She is very, not in her personal life, but when she's not, when she's talking to someone else, she's very careful. She always thinks before she says something. In other words, she thinks before she talks. I don't have that. Just whatever's here comes flying out here. And, but it's quite interesting to see the difference in us. But in like when we're not behind the mics, she's more like me, like with us, with me and her husband and that. But yeah, she thinks before she talks. I don't have that ability. Yeah. So I don't know how not to be blunt. Plus, I'm here, and here's the thing. I'm not here to be liked. I could give a hoot if anyone likes me. I'm here to help. I'm here to help you. I'm here to make you enjoy parenting. That is my main goal. I want you to enjoy your kids. I want you to have fun parenting. That is my goal. No matter what I say, how I say it, that is all I'm trying to do. Is I'm trying to drive this point home that you can be a leader, you can get respect, and you can still be best friends with your kids. That is what I was, and anyone can learn how to do this. A leader is not just the authority that stands sort of behind this boundary and this rule. A leader is someone who brings out the best in kids, and you can still be friends with your kids. But when they're younger, they will want to please you. When they're teenagers, they just won't want to disappoint you because they respect you so much. They like you. You make them feel good about themselves, and you respect them. Okay, I got to go over to Instagram. If you want to check me out over there, go over there and join me over there. It's BratBusters.com. If not, I'm on YouTube the whole time. That's where all these lives are saved. And thanks so much for joining me here on Facebook. And I'm heading over to Instagram now. Okay, happy parenting. Sorry, I messed that up last time. Sorry, my stomach's growling. Where am I? Oops, drats. Sorry, my stomach's growling like crazy. You know how you can feel the stomach growl coming on? Nothing you can do about it. Okay, here we go. I'm on Instagram. And tips on redirection for a new 3-year-old, following direction. Tips on redirection? I don't tend to do that with a 3-year-old. Yeah, I don't do that. Are you new here, Carly? Yeah, yeah, I don't do that. Not with a 3-year-old. I don't tend to do that much at all with any kid. So I do a little bit of indirect redirection with about under 16 months, but that's about it. Okay, so everyone's already here on Instagram. Everyone turns up really fast on Instagram. Okay, sorry, my stomach's growling again. Just a minute. It's so embarrassing. I don't want it turning up in a video. My daughter gets our videos from these lives. Okay. Okay, so let's get going. My name's Lisa, and I'm a parenting coach. I'm a mom. I'm also a grandmother. If you want to check out my website, BratBusters.com, you can see my free behavior board. It starts at the age of 3. It also has a toddler section on it because they're not on the behavior board. Or you can look at my boot camp courses. There's 2 of them. There's one for toddlers. There's one for 3 to 12-year-olds. Or you can look into coaching. I was hoping to take on a few new clients this week, but existing clients have rehired me because a lot of parents keep rehiring because they're working on stuff, right? So they always take first priority. So I hopefully will be able to take on some new clients maybe later in the week if you're on the wait list, just to let you know if you're on the wait list, that's why. Yeah. Okay. Okay, it's a good idea, but just a sec. Okay, what are your thoughts on a consequence jar where you put all of your consequences in there and the kids randomly pick instead of you having to continuously come up with something each time? I think that's a great idea. That's a wonderful idea. So what she's saying is when you break the rule on the behavior board as the parent, you break the rule, your consequence is usually something like hide and seek with the kids, whatever. So she's saying, well, how about rather than you have to come up with something, let them, put ideas down in a jar and then they can pick it out. And that can go really well. I could see a few problems potentially with that, but overall, I think it's a great idea. One of the things I can see with that is if they're younger and they're fighting all the time, you keep just happening to pick out the one that one kid lucks out and gets their thing all the time. That can potentially be an issue. If you have 2 or 3 kids and they do tend to argue, I would let them each take turns deciding what you're going to do. So if you break a rule, they take turns deciding what you're going to do. That could work too. But yeah. Sorry. Just got a bunch of stuff going on the side here too. Tips for 5-year-old that is loud most of the day. I've tried telling him to use his inside voice, but it doesn't work. Why on earth would he listen to that? Why on earth would that make any difference whatsoever? None of us learn that way. We all learn through consequences, adults included. We don't pay our taxes because they go, excuse me, pay your taxes. It's because if we don't, we go to jail. Do you see what I'm saying? Where's the consequence? If you have a rule that he's loud, but I don't know, it's kind of a hard one to do. I wouldn't start with that on the behavior board. That might be week 2 or 3. It's a hard one to do. So if he's really loud, I don't know why he's loud. Is he loud because he's happy or is he loud because he's mad? It's a bit different. So yeah, it's a bit of a tricky one. But yeah, telling a child not to do something is kind of, what's the word I want to use? I know what I want to use. I know I'm blunt, but I won't say it. But yeah, it doesn't work. It would be like a police saying, don't speed, but there's no ticket coming. Why on earth would you listen? Like, where's the consequence? It's the consequence that keeps us all in line. It's the consequences where the lesson is. We absolutely love what you stand for and how you teach is so inspiring. Yeah, I just let it all fly. But I'm old. I've been doing this forever, and I'm really passionate about what I teach. I haven't changed really in 50 plus years. I kind of treat the kids all the same, and I'm just teaching it maybe a little bit differently throughout the years, and then I'm getting better at talking about it because the more I talk to you, the more I learn, right? And generations kind of change with adults too, and kids, in that your lingo changes a little bit. So I've had to change some of the ways I talk. You know what's interesting is I've been doing this business now for almost 20 years, And you know, one of the most popular things that parents used to hire me for coaching, can you guess what it is? And I don't think anyone's asked me about it all year. Maybe once. But the number one thing that I used to be hired for like 15, 20 years ago, hardly anyone ever asks about anymore. Do you know what it is? It's bullying. Why on earth am I not being hired to deal with bullying anymore? Why is that? Do you know? I don't know. I have some ideas, but I don't really know. Isn't that interesting, though? Has bullying just gotten that much better? Or is it just all done online now? I don't know. So that's changed a lot over the years. Okay, just started your 3 to 12-year-old BratBusters course. That's the boot camp course. Curious what to do if they don't do the positive consequence. Have the 24 and no screen time, and then they break the rule again. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's in the course. I'm pretty sure, because so many people ask about that. What they're asking is, they're in the course, the boot camp course, 3 to 12 years old, and you use the behavior board. So you put a rule down for them. They break the rule. There's always 2 consequences for the kids. So if they break, you always go over to the board. Now, let me see. Here's the rule. You broke the rule. Okay, so you see how I'm just talking like it's a business transaction. So you broke the rule. So the first consequence is, it's usually do a chore within 15 minutes of being asked to do so, or something like that. So, and you always time everything. So you got 15 minutes, make the chore like 2 minutes long, but you got 15 minutes to do it, set a timer, and then you're just looking at the clock. You're not saying another word to them. That's up to them whether or not they do it. I don't care if they do. So then let's say they don't do it. They say, oh, forget, I'm not doing it. So fine, you don't say anything. The alarm goes off. Then you say, oh, okay, come back to the board. Now let me see. Now you broke the rule. So your consequence is to do a chore. Fine, I'll do it now. It's too late. Timer's already gone. You didn't do it. So the second consequence is, because there's always 2. The first consequence is a positive action. If they won't do that, then you resort to the negative deprivation. So it's something like this: 24-hour media blackout because you didn't do that chore. So 24-hour media blackout starts now, and make it happen. Now, what this parent's asking, which I hear about all the time, is they say, yeah, but then they keep breaking that rule in that 24 hours. Nothing you can do. They're already being punished for that rule, for breaking that rule. So at the most, I would say that's why you've got 24-hour media blackout. It may be one hell of a 24 hours. That's okay. They're learning. The odds are next time they're going to think twice before they break that rule. That's the whole idea. The whole idea behind this is short-term pain for long-term gain. Everyone wants to avoid any pain. You can't. Those tantrums, those fits, those scenes, those meltdowns, that is the lesson. That is when they're learning. You can't avoid that. Don't try and avoid that stuff. Don't avoid a scene. That's their lesson. It's like that 8-year-old kid who said to me, if you don't give me what I want, I'm going to have a fit. And I said to him, bring it on. And he never did. You could see it. He instantly calculated, oh, she knows what she's doing. There was no point. He was great with me. But I had no fear of his fit. None. Let it happen. Bring it on. I know what I'm doing. See, if you're afraid of those fit scenes, meltdowns, and tantrums, you're not a leader. They are leading you. You're reacting to them. Leaders act. They don't react. So you want them to react to you when it comes to discipline and all that, not the other way around. Think about that. Let's say their energy is like crazy. They're mad. They're up here. You stay here. Stay calm. If you match their energy, you get upset with them. Where's the leader? There is none. So you just stay calm. They're having an absolute fit. Oh, you're all right. You'll be okay. Whatever. You're just doing your thing. Just waiting for them to join you. Don't join them in that craziness because there's no one to calm you down. It's about energy, right? You lead the energy. Don't let them lead the energy. If they're in the crazy zone. So yeah, they are still learning. Don't double it. Don't double the 24-hour media blackout. Maybe once a year I'll do that with a client. And it's rare. They have to be 9 and over before I'll do that. You don't want me to go into why, but it's that rare that I would do that. that I would double the 24-hour immediate blackout to 48 hours. Like I said, maybe happens once a year with a client in coaching. But yeah, I never recommend you do it on your own because it's something that's I hate doing it because then you got 48 hours of hell, right? Right. And then where's the lessons? Like if the first 24 hours is all you need. But yeah, it's very rare. So don't double it. It doesn't help. Bring back bullying. Yeah. Isn't that funny though? Isn't that funny? It's not that I want it brought back, but I'm just shocked at that because you hear so much about it. And yet why am I not being hired for bullying? I guess because I used to specialize in crisis work, especially with teenagers. Maybe that has something to do with it. And bullying can be crisis work, right? So maybe that's it. I don't know. Bullying is all online now. Yeah, it is. But I mean, a lot of I used to be hired for little kids bullying too. So, and they're not online yet, like 3, 4, 5-year-olds. So yeah, it's quite interesting. Okay. Someone said, parents aren't teaching their kids the best thing. It's crazy how unruly most children are. Okay. All parents do the best they know how. Okay. Like no one's ever handed a baby in the hospital and goes, I'm going to mess you up. Everyone does the best they know how. So I'm not critical of them. I just feel bad that they have no one around, like no village helping them out because everyone's this independent. Everyone's an island these days. There used to be a village raising kids, right? There was neighborhoods, everyone knew everybody. There was multi-generational homes. This is back like 100 years ago. That's when parenting did come natural because there was a whole village raising kids. Now everyone's trying to figure it out on their own. So, that's what I'm here for. I'm sort of the village, I guess. I don't know, but we all are. So everyone does the best they know how. Parenting's the hardest job in the world with the least amount of training. So don't be critical of parents. They're doing the best they know how. When they know better, they do better. Oh, this is such a good question. I can't believe more people don't ask this. This is from Brittany Biard. I probably got that wrong, but anyway. Oh, shoot. I just lost it. Drats. You know how things skip ahead? I might have lost it. I get dizzy when I go backwards, so I have to be careful. I'm old. I've got equilibrium problems. Also, speech impediment problems, obviously. Sugar. I'm trying to find it. It was such a good question. I can't remember how she worded it. I'm looking. Oh, phooey. Where is that? Oh, well, it's gone. I can't find it. That's frustrating. It was such a good question. And it's such a rare question. I read your name out. If you could write that again, it'd be great. Oh, that was sort of it. Okay. It was how to respond when the consequence causes an even larger tantrum, like no TV. Yippee yahoo. The bigger the scene, the bigger the lesson. They just up it trying to get their own way. They're letting you know they're not happy with you. That's okay. The bigger the scene, the bigger the lesson. Roll with it. Never be afraid of a fit, scene, meltdown, or tantrum because that is the lesson. That is it. Everyone wants the rainbow. I say you got to go through the storm to get there because you're changing how you're parenting, right? And they're going to get worse before they get better, especially if they're 3 and over. If you start implementing this leadership stuff, they're going to go, wait a minute, I was in charge yesterday. Now you think you're in charge? Good luck with that. So they usually do get worse before they get better. Don't be afraid of the fit, scenes, meltdowns, and tantrums. That is them processing your leadership. That's okay. It's a transition. So yeah, it will usually get worse. Have you done the topic of sharing? Oh yeah, I've talked about that a lot. And it just depends on the age. You have to ask a specific question about that because it's very different with different ages. I like the business transaction analogy. Yeah. How do you curb your emotion in an act to ask your toddler to follow your lead? In an act to ask your toddler to follow your lead. I don't talk like that, so I don't quite know what you mean. I don't quite know what you mean by that. So I can't answer that. Yeah. Whenever I'm coaching people, I tell them, by the way, as we're leaving, goodbye, see you next week. Oh, by the way, it's probably going to get worse before it gets better. So see ya. But I make that very clear that you think about it. It's like if you're decluttering. You got to make a bigger mess before you get organized. It's like that. Geez, that's a good analogy. You know, I suck at analogies. That's a good one. Oh, like decluttering. That was actually a good one. Is that right? Was that a good one? You know, I'm bad at that. Oh, anyway, okay. Hi, I found your page yesterday and I love it. Can you please share more about 2 or 3-year-olds getting along with each other better? Not so much. The only thing I can say to that is that when you got kids who aren't getting along, you can't get them to get along. You have to be with them and show them how to get along with you. They're facilitating it. What I mean by that is when you want to teach your kids how to get along with their siblings, never do one-on-one time. They'll hate each other. It just builds resentment. You play with them and they'll just be playing side by side getting along, but you're there facilitating it. And don't do anything competitive. Just do something silly. Silly dance games and stuff. 2 and a 3-year-old, I'd pull out my silly stuff for sure. So yeah, just start silly dancing and all that kind of stuff. So you're teaching them how to get along by playing side by side with you, facilitating the non-competitive fun. Did that make sense? To me, it did. But anyway. Okay, but you may have to sit through up to 30 minutes or more of a tantrum. Yep. But the kid will surely come around. They feed off our energy. Yep. Staying calm eventually leads to calm. Basically, I'm just standing there filing my nails. I might look down every so often if they're still kicking and screaming. I might go like this, like just sort of, don't get eye contact though. You just kind of like, it's important that they know you're calmly waiting for that to stop. Don't go off and ignore them. Don't go on your phone. Don't get into a conversation. You're actively waiting for the tantrum to stop. That's what you're doing. But you're just calm, looking around, looking at the birds in the trees. As soon as they're done, oh, you all done? Do you want to go read a book? They might go, I want a hug. Say, you're all right. Let's go read a book. Don't coddle them after a tantrum and never discuss a tantrum. What's the point? Never, ever discuss a tantrum. Where you put your focus, where you put your energy is what grows. If you put your focus and energy into discussing tantrums, you'll just get more of them. Yeah, there's no point. A tantrum is not bad behavior. A tantrum is a loss of emotional control at not getting their own way. Allow them to process it. If you interrupt that and try and pull them out of it, good luck with that. Yeah, it may work in the short term, but it'll backfire big time. You've just interrupted their process of getting out of a tantrum. What have they learned? Nothing. Never interrupt a tantrum. Let them go for it. Do you give advice on babies' behaviors as well? Mine is close to 9 months and I'm noticing behavioral changes. Not so much. I do get clients with babies, but a lot of that is investing in tomorrow. I really start my teaching and how to connect and how to start disciplining at about 16 months. But sometimes I get hired by people who don't even have kids yet. They want to prepare for it. I do that less and less now because I'm so booked up. But yeah, I used to take on parents who were just pregnant and they wanted to know what's coming. So a lot of it's preparing for tomorrow. My attitude with babies is give them what meet their needs and meet their wants. Baby cries, I pick them up. If they hit, I just say no and I hold them and then I redirect. I never say no to a baby and that they cry. I just let them know. No, you don't hit. No, okay, let's go do that. They'll eventually learn. So yeah, you're just redirecting at that age. It's interesting. My granddaughter, she's 11 months old. She's got this great play area, foam mats and everything. And she can get around sort of creeping like that. And if you stand her up, she can push a walk thing. What's interesting, it's fascinating. They got their Christmas tree all set up. There's nothing around it. She doesn't get into it. Wow. I'm like, you mean she doesn't try and grab the tree? No, she went over there once, but no, she didn't. Like, wow. Most babies would be in there in a shot. So yeah, I was quite shocked at that. Yeah, she just doesn't go over there. Fascinating. Can't figure that out. I can't figure them all out. Okay, can you please give ideas for teen consequences? For example, chores done without nagging. Yeah, I don't operate like that. I would say put on the behavior board, follow chore chart, and you work on that with them. Okay, I'm going to read out my top 5 tips for parenting teenagers. They're my favorite age by far, teenagers. Okay. So yeah, basically what I do is I'd use the behavior board, call it an accountability chart because they're teenagers. You don't want to call it a behavior board. And you say follow chore chart. And then you say, here's the three, make it super quick and easy. Here, put your dishes in the dishwasher. I wouldn't even get them to make their bed, teenagers. I'm really fussy, but I gave my kids a messy room, but no food, no dirty laundry was allowed in their room because that would stink, right? And dirty clothes had to go in the hamper. So I just had bare minimum stuff. Anyway, then I would say, what do you want for my rule? Negotiate with teenagers. Anyway, these are my top 5 tips for parenting teenagers. Number 1 is you listen to understand and show empathy. You don't listen to gather information to lecture with, or they will shut you out. If they want your advice, they'll ask for it. By the way, they already know it. Number 2 is you negotiate as much as possible. Hey, I want your dirty clothes in the hamper. What do you want from me? Reciprocity, building mutual respect, right? Because you're on that board too. Number 3 is don't sweat the small stuff with teenagers. If they do something stupid and it's not a big deal, just say, well, that was stupid. Do you want to hear what I did when I was your age? And laugh it off. Or do you want to hear what I did this morning? We all do stupid things. Laugh it off, okay? Number 4, don't leverage the good times to discuss the bad times. So when do you discuss the bad times? Never. What's the point? Some of my clients are child psychologists, and they will debate that one with me. You should discuss bad behavior. No, I disagree. When should you discuss bad behavior? Never. There are sort of exceptions, but not to that statement. Anyway, won't get into it. Number 5, you can be a right fighter or you can be happy with teenagers. You can be a right fighter or you can be happy. Usually if you're arguing with a teenager, if you're that silly that you're going to argue with a teenager, you're usually right. How does that go? Not too well, does it? I would just say, I'll tell you what, let's figure this out later. Never say an accelerator statement like, we'll figure it out later when you've calmed down. Woo, big accelerator. You just put fuel on that fire. Okay, that's my top 5 tips for parenting teenagers. So I'm going to scroll ahead to make sure you're still here when I answer your questions because there's a whole bunch of questions. Okay, newly 3-year-old boy throwing things nonstop, hurting people and breaking things. I would put as his rule, no hurting other people. I would put that down. That's his rule, and there's a consequence if he does. 3 is a fork in the road. If you're a leader, when they hit 3, they get easier. If you're not a leader, they often get harder. It's like they stop and think on their 3rd birthday, wait a minute now, you don't know what you're doing. You're not a leader at all. I think I'm going to take charge, which potentially, because you said he's newly 3, it's often that's what happens. Or they go, wait a minute now, you're a leader. You know what you're doing. I'm not even going to fight it. They just sort of get it. But yeah, it just says to me that you got to work on your leadership. Remember, we're never fixing kids. We're fixing and teaching parents here. Work on your leadership skills. Check out the free behavior board, or you can look at the boot camp course, 3 to 12 years old. It's 5 weeks, how to be a leader. The work does not end after the course. Okay. You got to keep going. Takes about 3 months, 6 to 12 weeks with little kids for your leadership. If you're consistent, for your leadership to really cement. Teenagers, it could be up to 6 months. And it's different. With kids 12 and under, as a leader, they will want to please you. When they're teenagers, you want them to want to please themselves, sort of be their own leaders. You're there for backup. They don't want to disappoint you, but you're there for the big stuff. Don't micromanage the little stuff with teenagers. You need to allow them to make mistakes without judgment. With the small stuff, you're just there for the big stuff with teenagers. I could go on for hours about teenagers. They're my favorite age. That's all I'll say for now. I could go on and on and on. Five has been so hard. Why? LOL. I just 5 tips for 5-year-old. Yeah. By that age, do I have 5? I don't have 5 tips for 3 to 12-year-olds. I just have tips for toddlers, tips for teenagers. That really the 3 to 12 years old, just use the behavior board. With teenagers, it takes more than that. So the tips are start the behavior board. And that's free. It's completely free. But toddlers, there's tips for that because they're kind of nuts. And teenagers, yeah, they're not that straightforward. Like in coaching, when I'm hired with parents of teenagers, parents, and I always tell them, you're going to be disappointed in the first 1 or 2 sessions, because all I'm doing is assessing and working on your bond and your relationship with your teenager. Their behavior comes later. You gotta do some base work first. You can't. It's like you can't build a house without a foundation. You need some base work first with teenagers. Whereas with 3 to 12 years old, you can go right in with that behavior board and put down behavior on there. But you can't do that with a teenager. Are there any recommendations when it comes to potty training? Well, potty training is a whole system. I trained my son in 1 day, my daughter in 2 days at 2.5 years old. I was already a leader, which is why it was so much easier for me, but it's a great tool to use to excel your leadership too. And it might, a lot of parents are having great success within the first few days. So yeah, check out it's in the toddler boot camp course. I'm kind of on the fence whether or not to put potty training in the 3 to 12-year-old course too, because some 3-year-olds, we might do that actually. It gets a little bit different when they get older. But yeah, let's put that. I'm going to tell my daughter to do that. Put potty course in 3 to 12 course. Yeah, because so many people ask about that, and we don't include it in the 3 to 12-year-old boot camp course. But if you've got a 3-year-old who isn't potty trained and you want to buy the 3 to 12-year-old course, I think potty training should be in there. So we'll do that with the stipulation that it really is for toddlers. Okay. Anyway, so I can't really give you any recommendations because it's a whole system. It was funny. I used to do a lot of TV back like decades ago. I used to do a lot of TV talking about parenting. And I was going to be talking about potty training. So it was like the breakfast TV show here in Vancouver. So it was morning TV. They had gone out and bought a toilet that they put on the stage. And I was on TV with a toilet. And I remember thinking, God, I'm classy. Such a classy woman. I'm on stage with a toilet. Oh, that was funny. It was great. We had fun. I decorated it. It was fun. Let me see here. Okay, you got a 3-year-old who's having a tantrum in the car, screams bloody murder, kicks the seat. If they're getting that violent and they're big enough that they can kick your seat and you're going like that, I might pull over and just stand at the side of the road waiting for them to finish like this. I might do that. Yeah, I'd pull over. If you can, don't do that on the freeway. Sorry. Okay, my almost 2-year-old is in the climbing stage. I do everything I can to prevent climbing, but there's one thing I can't keep him from climbing, and that I'm constantly pulling him off of any advice. Yeah, I do have some advice. It might not work. There's 4 things kids are born to do or they're never going to do. It's in their DNA. It's in their genes. They're born with this. One is climbing. One is running. They often go together. Those are the kids that have no physical fears. They just run and climb. So running and climbing are 2 things. They're not always together, though. The other one is tantrums, and the other one is hitting. Some kids are just born with that aggressive gene. It's not your fault that they do these things, but it's your responsibility to get them out of these things. With climbers, I either put a bell on the kid or a bell on what they're climbing on or an alarm. Okay, if it's something that you can't child-proof, put a bell on it, put an alarm on it, and you're just going to have to watch them. It's a temporary stage. Everything with toddlers is so temporary. It's a very quick stage. Whenever I'm hired by people with older kids and they also have a toddler, we often never discuss the toddler. And I'll say, do you want to talk about the toddler? And they'll say, no, they're just nuts. So it's such a quick little stage. But yeah, put bells and alarms on things that you can't move around and watch the kid like a hawk when possible. Okay, I'm going to move over to TikTok now. I'm on YouTube the whole time. That's where all my lives are saved. This is my second to last regularly scheduled live. We're going to be doing them differently. My daughter's sending out an email about this because we're also going to be doing 2 podcasts a week. We're just getting busier and busier, and we don't want to get too busy where the quality goes down. And if I'm really strung out because I'm so busy doing other things, because I'm coaching almost every day, all day, right? So the coaching takes a lot of energy. So I don't want to ever get to a point where I'm pushed too hard. So my daughter's very good at planning everything out. So we're going to be doing 2 podcasts a week. No more regularly scheduled lives, but we're replacing it with something else. If you're in the newsletter, just go to BratBusters.com. You'll see what's happening. So that's the changes that are going to be taking place. This Thursday is my very last regularly scheduled live, but I'll still be coming on from time to time doing them when I've got time and the energy and the voice, because I lose my voice by the end of the day sometimes. So as much as I love doing these lives, I just don't always have time for them. It's getting harder and harder to schedule them in. So anyway, thanks so much for joining me. I'm hopping over to TikTok now. Happy parenting. Whoops. Okay, I'm getting all sweaty now. I'm just got so many different layers on because I ate a smoothie bowl and I was frozen. So I've got blankets all over me. Oh. I'm all sweaty now. Okay. Whew. Welcome to the live. We're just setting up on TikTok. You're my last stop. I do Facebook, Instagram, then TikTok. I go from my smallest platform up to my biggest. TikTok's my biggest platform. YouTube's my smallest, but it's not social media. YouTube is a search engine. So it's done quite differently. Like I've got like 1.6 million followers, and hardly any of those are on YouTube. It's all TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. So, and I've got a real soft spot for TikTok. This is where I really got started, like 2 years ago. I've been doing my business forever, but I really wasn't that much on social media. I was doing other things. So, but yeah, TikTok is where it all started. 2 years ago, my daughter said, "Mom, you got to get on TikTok. Just give it a go," and just blew up. So I love TikTok. But you know, it's interesting. I would have made hundreds of thousands of dollars on TikTok in the last 2 years. But I'm in Canada. They blacklisted us. We don't get 1 cent from TikTok. I don't know why they hate us. I have no idea. I live in Vancouver. Half of our population here is Chinese. We love Chinese people. Why do they hate us? Why does TikTok hate us? I don't know why that is. Anyway, that's okay. I'm not sour grapes. I'm not sour grapes at all. I just don't know why they don't like us. Okay. I keep seeing Joel Mayo on Facebook. She steals your content. I keep reporting her. Thanks so much for your support. Joel Mayo is pretending to be me, and they're taking money from people. And we know we get some back end on this because people think that's me. They think I have 2 channels or something. I'm just BratBusters. That's all I am. Joel Mayo is an imposter. We've tried to shut him or her down. We don't know who it is. It's just that they're taking money from people pretending to be me. That's not me. So there's a whole bunch of imposters out there. That one's got a real big following though, and all they do is use my videos. So everyone thinks that's me. It's not me. Okay. I'm surprised you don't move to a place you can get paid from TikTok here. It's tempting. I mean, it literally is hundreds of thousands of dollars lost because of that. Yeah, it's okay. That's fine. But I just don't know why they don't like. I don't get it. I don't know why they don't like us. I think there's only a couple countries they don't pay, and we're one of them. And yet we're huge. Half of Vancouver is Chinese. Half of the city is Chinese. So we're very multicultural. Like we're like buddies. I don't know why. Isn't that weird? I don't know. Must be political. I'm not political. I don't understand it all. I don't understand all that stuff. Okay. Let's get going with the live. My name is Lisa. I'm a parenting coach. I'm a mom. I'm also a grandmother. If you go in the link above, or if you just look up BratBusters.com, you can see my free behavior board, my boot camp courses, one for toddlers, one for 3 to 12-year-olds, or you can look into coaching. I was hoping to take on a few new clients this week because I was ending with some clients, but they have rehired me. So I can't take on new clients right now. That happens a lot because, they get more stuff to work on. So anyway, they always take first priority, obviously. So let's get going with the live. But I should be able to, hopefully by tomorrow. I know a couple of clients I'm pretty sure I'm going to be finishing up with. I'm pretty sure. So we'll see. That's if you're on the wait list for coaching. Not everyone wants coaching, but if you're on the wait list, that's what's going on. A 19-month-old tantrums. It's so hard to not engage, coddle them. I feel guilty. Okay. A tantrum is not, it's not a lot of emotions. It's anger at not getting their own way. So think about it that way. It's not sadness, really. It's anger at not getting their own way. That's all it is. It's a loss of emotional control at not getting what you want. You don't need to coddle that. You don't need to engage with that. You need to let them process. Sometimes I'm not going to get what I want. That's okay. The sooner they learn that, the better. There's a whole bunch of 8, 9-year-olds and sometimes 29-year-olds who are still tantruming because they don't get what they want because they weren't allowed to process that when they were young. The sooner they learn they can't get everything they want, the better. So, and also a lot of times they're finished the tantrum, right? And and they want to hug, and they're climbing on you. Just go, you're all right. Do you want to go read a book? Don't coddle them then either. They're still in it. They're still coming down from it. It's like the hangover of the tantrum. You still don't coddle that either. You can coddle and love them up any other time, but around a tantrum. A tantrum is not bad behavior. It's just a lack of emotion. It's a loss of emotional control and not getting their own way. You don't discuss it. You don't validate it. You don't give it any attention at all. Okay. My 17-year-old son thinks I'm always wrong and not treating him equal as my other kid. How to deal? Well, I don't know the other kid, so I don't know the full story here. So I'm going to read out my top 5 tips for parenting teenagers. And also ask him. I would ask him, what am I doing? And don't say it like, what am I doing? Say like, I want to know. How am I treating you unfairly? He might be right. Maybe he's right. Got to listen to them. Okay, well, that's my top 5 tips. Listen to understand and show empathy. You don't just listen to gather information to lecture with. You listen to understand, show empathy. Number 2, negotiate as much as possible. Hey, I want your dirty clothes in the hamper. What do you want from me? Number 3, don't sweat the small stuff with teenagers. Hey, you did something stupid. It was small. Let's just laugh it off. Like, big deal. Just like you do dumb things. It's okay. Number 4, don't leverage the good times with your teenager to discuss the bad times. When do you discuss the bad times? Never. What's the point? Number 5, here we go. You can be a right fighter with a teenager, or you can be happy. Usually, if you're arguing with a teenager, if you're silly enough to argue with a teenager, you usually are right. And they know it, by the way. You keep arguing, no one's going to be happy. Just say, how about we figure it out later? Don't say, how about we figure it out later when you've calmed down? That's an accelerator. That's they'll get mad. Just say, how about, I'll tell you what, let's just talk about it later. And then later on, then ask them, say, what's going on here? Tell me, I need to know, tell me. And they might be right. So with teenagers, you can either be a right fighter or you can be happy. That could be said with any adult relationship too. You can be a right fighter or you can be happy. By the way, people usually know when you're right. Even if they're fighting, they usually know when you're right. Do you really need to say it? Let go of your ego. Just keep your mouth shut. Am I good at that? Not so much. I'm getting better though. I'm learning. I used to be a right fighter for sure. Not so much now. I'm old. You mellow out. That's a good thing about getting old. You do mellow out. But my mom used to say alcohol and age are just truth serums. You just become who you always were. They say, oh, that crotchety old fart. He was always miserable. He just hid it better. As you get older, like I have no filter at all anymore. I don't know if I ever really did. But yeah, mom used to say age and alcohol are truth serums. That's when you see the real person come out. Okay. Sorry, I just got my statistics just flew up here. I don't know why. Okay. Oh, I got some kid on here. Silly kids. Does your parent know you're on here? I'm guessing you're about 9. 10. Maybe 9 or 10. Okay. Now go tell your mom you're on here. Any advice on toddler boy that's too scared of everything? Well, I don't know his age and I don't know what he's scared of. So I don't know. I have no idea. I need more context with that one. How to deal with a 2-year-old pitching fits in public, like at the grocery store. I have a whole section in my toddler course. And I think it might also be in the boot camp course. It's on, I know I have it in the toddler course, the boot camp course. It's on supermarket tantrums. But yeah, it's interesting that you asked that. How do you deal with supermarket tantrums? The same as you do with any other tantrum. If you're a different parent when you're out, nothing's going to work. I was 100% consistent. My kids could have predicted right within the split second exactly what I would do in any situation, no matter where we were. So you've got to be 100% consistent. But here's how I handled supermarkets with toddlers. I believe that sitting in a supermarket trolley is really boring for a kid. So what I would do is I always brought a goodie bag, and it only came out when they were sitting in that little child seat at the supermarket. And then I changed it every time we went. So I just had a grab bag, a little basket on top of the fridge full of just silly little toys. And I had a drink bottle And then I also had some little healthy snacks in there. So, and then they're almost eye contact with me. So we were chatting while we were doing that. Plus, never let them help, because they don't understand the difference between, hey, I can throw these paper towels in the back, but I can't throw a jar of pickles in the back. They don't understand that. That's inconsistency on your part. And never let them walk beside the trolley, because the day that they don't understand. Why can I walk beside sometimes and throw some groceries in there, but other days I can't? They get mixed up. It's a lack of leadership on your part because you're not consistent. So always have them in that seat with the little goodie bag and never let them help. I'll actually watch this. I've been in supermarkets where I followed moms around because I think, oh, we're going to be in trouble now. Sure enough, I'll watch her and she'll give the kid a box of Kleenex or a bunch of saran wrap. Okay, and you put it in the back and the kid throws it in the back, and I'll follow her around. Sure enough, there's a jar of pickles that she wants to put in the back, and the kid has an absolute tantrum. But no, it'll break, and they don't understand that. They're two. They don't understand that. So it's setting them up to fail. So yeah, I set my kids up for success. They always sat in that seat. They were never walking beside. They never helped, and they had a goodie bag. How old does a child need to be to understand exceptions? Well, the exceptions are kind of tricky because it depends on what they are, but they're usually about 3. That's when they can start to stop and think before they act, and they get some logic. That's that frontal lobe, right? That frontal cortex thing starting to work. That is the reasoning. They can stop and think before, like they can just stop and think basically. Before that, they're more just reactive. That's in the discovery stage, and they're just impulsive and reactive. I used to work with kids who were NAS, narcotic addiction syndrome. They call it something different everywhere you go, but it's when they're born addicted to drugs or alcohol, and their impulse control is just not even there. And it's really difficult through the teen years with them because they always struggle with that. That's what's damaged with the addiction is their impulse control. That's that frontal lobe thing. From what I understand, I'm not a doctor, obviously, but yeah, I worked with those kids, and I thought, wow, they just have no impulse control because they were born addicts. So it's really difficult when they're teenagers. Prefrontal cortex isn't even fully developed until at least 25. Yeah, they say we're kind of finished at 25. Yeah. I'm 64. I'm going down the other way. I'm going down the other hill, the other side of the hill now. You know, they say they were over the hill. Yeah, I peaked. Now I'm going down the other side. I definitely feel mentally I'm not as quick as I was. I could really think I can still do it, but not all the time. I was pretty quick before, and now I can tell the difference. I'm just more laid back. Maybe that's it, or just more stupid. I don't know what it is, but yeah, I definitely noticed that. But yeah, you're still developing till you're 25. That's why a lot of people, when they're young, they go out and get drunk and party, and they just don't really think. They don't think about the consequences. They struggle with that. I'm always surprised that I always found this amazing, that depending on where you're from, that you're not allowed to drink. Like some kids here can drink at 18. In some like I know in Australia, 18 was the drinking. You can drink at 18. So they can get behind a vehicle at 16, and at 18 they can drink. They're not supposed to drink and drive at that age. But I always find it amazing that I would rather them not be able to drive than not be able to drink. Because driving, they could kill other people, right? So I'm always amazed at that they're allowed to drive at 16. It just seems so young to be able to drive. I remember my very first time I ever drove. I had driving lessons because my dad had passed away at this time, and my mom, there's no way she was a nervous driver. She was never going to teach me. So she bought me driving lessons. And I can remember we had like the road, and then it was sort of a gravel off the shoulder area. You think I could get that freaking right wheels off the gravel? I drove like halfway up the street in the gravel. And it was a street where everybody knew everybody. So all the neighbors, of course, saw it. So I could not get the car on the road. I was just too nervous, I guess. It's funny you remember. I was 15 when that happened. Because you can get your learner's license at 15, and then you get your license at 16. Anyway. Couldn't for the life of me get those wheels on the road. Okay, advice on teens who have no motivation, giving up on sports and grades. We do mostly negotiating with those teenagers. That would be coaching. Just start negotiating. I mean, if you want my help, I would have to coach you through that because I don't know your I don't know your parenting style. So a lot of it is just connecting with them and negotiating. Hey, look, I want you to do this or that. Pick very carefully. What do you want from me? And then put it on the board. Call it an accountability chart. It's tricky to do. It's very hard to do with teenagers because they're just going to say, well, I don't care. Take my phone. I don't care. Is there a different way to approach behavior and discipline with an ADHD kids? No, that's where I learned all this. All the kids I worked with were alphabet kids. They all had ADHD, WXYZ after their name. That's where I learned all this stuff. It's just about giving respect to get it. And it's interesting. I think that kids make a lot of sense, actually, to me. Adults don't always make sense to me. Kids, I just get them. I just understand them. Once you understand where they're coming from, they're actually quite easy to read and manage. But that's my job, is to explain that to parents, that it's not that they want to be naughty, but they will often act out to get you to be a leader. A lot of parents struggle with that, but that's why a lot of kids act out, is to get you to be a leader. They're forcing your hand. They don't know how to articulate that, though. Every teenager I've ever worked with, I specialize in teen crisis work, and every teenager I've ever worked with has said to me in one way or another, different words, but they've all said, I wish my parents had been tougher on me growing up and I wouldn't be where I am now, because they're in trouble when I've worked with them. They identify that discipline equals love. Interesting, eh? One of them even said to me, this was fascinating. This teenager said to me, now they don't want discipline now, by the way, but they identify they didn't get it growing up. That's why they're kind of messed up and in a lot of trouble. This teenager said to me, my parents didn't love me enough to make me a good person. Wow. Wow. It isn't them. I know parents always want to fix their kids, but it isn't them. It's you. You lead, they will follow. That said it to me. That teenager identified that it was the parents' responsibility to make him a good person. Interesting. That's why they fascinate me. I've learned way more with kids. People say, where'd you learn all this? I went to the source. I listened to kids and teenagers. They taught me all this stuff. But isn't that fascinating? My parents didn't love me enough to make me a good person. Wow. Disciplining an OCD toddler, I find I give in to things for him that I don't other kids. Well, has he been officially diagnosed with an obsessive compulsive disorder? And how has he got it? They're all different, right? Yeah, I don't know how he's got it. It's very hard to assess them when they're little, but sometimes I've heard of it. So they can be diagnosed very, very young, but it's less likely. Usually it's when they're older. Usually when they hit school too, teachers will start to notice it. Like I'm not OCD, but I'm borderline. I'm very clean. The difference is I don't get stressed out over it. I just get to work cleaning. But it doesn't, you know what I mean? That's OCD. It's very stressing to them if something doesn't go the way they need it to go. Whereas with me, it's just like, oh, I'm going to go clean that up now. So, but people have always thought I was OCD with cleaning, but I'm actually not. Because I know people who have OCD. It's a different level. There are ways of dealing with it, but you'd have to talk to an OCD specialist. So, this is tricky, and I'm going to tell you why. You already know it anyway. This is on YouTube. This is the sweet I can't read that. What do you do if your friends' kids or nieces' nephews are acting out toward you to get your attention and the parents will not discipline? Acting out as in semi-violent, throwing things, etc. None of your business. Just cop it and then don't see much of them. I would never tell a parent how to raise their kids in my personal life, ever. None of your business. I just keep my mouth shut. That's their response. They're going to take offense to anything you say or do. They're going to take it as an insult. So the fact that they're not taking charge just says to me they don't know what to do. So send them, just say, oh, I found this parenting coach. Send them over my way. But yeah, nothing you can do. I've lost friends over that. I've had friends who had kids my son there was this kid who was hitting him a lot, and they were both like 1.5. And the mother would just say to her son, and he'd hit my kid over the head with a plastic shovel in the sandbox, and she'd go, "Say you're sorry." Like, and the kid would just go, "Sorry," and then he'd hit him again. "Say you're sorry." "Sorry," and hit him again. I just dumped that friend so fast. Anyway, and she could never handle her kid. He ended up, I've heard years later, they moved away, and I heard years later about this horrible bully in school. He'd gone through all the high schools. They couldn't figure out what to do with him. And I said, "Is his name blah, blah, blah?" It was that same kid that my kid grew up with. I just knew it because they said the mom was just so useless, always defending him. I thought, oh, that's probably her. And, but yeah, she never knew what to do with him. "Say you're sorry." What does that do? "Sorry," hit again. "Sorry," hit again. It means nothing. The word sorry means nothing to a child. They don't have remorse at 1.5-year-old. Besides, it's a consequence that teach us. Can you imagine a cop pulling you over? "Say you're sorry for speeding." "Sorry." "Okay, drive away." Where's the lesson? There is no lesson. Like, how do you show them that they are sorry? They don't need to be sorry. There's a consequence. They need to stop doing it. They don't need to be sorry. You're not showing them remorse. You just say no, and you pick them up, give the shovel to the kid they just hit, and take them away, sit them in your lap for a while the other kid plays in the sandbox. There's the lesson. You got to keep doing it, though, with a toddler. You got to keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. They'll eventually learn. So there's the lesson. Take action. It's got to hurt. They've got to lose that shovel. She didn't even take the shovel away. The weapon, he kept hitting with it. She never even took it away. Just clueless, right? Clueless. It was frustrating because I couldn't handle watching my kid hit another kid over the head repeatedly. That would be, I'd feel sick. It would make me feel sick. And my kid wasn't one to even defend him. He never hit back. So, and I just went racing over and picked him up and never saw her again. Got to protect your kids, right? Repetition. Yep. They don't learn right away. It's repetition. Repetition. I will put her in timeout and she still doesn't care. I hate timeout. Can't stand it. I never use it. So yeah. Oh, can you comment on adult onset ADHD? No, I can't. I've never even heard of that, by the way. But yeah, I only teach. I only know kids. I don't do adults. Okay, how to stop a 3-year-old from biting. At 3 years old, they can go on that behavior board. Check it out. It's at BratBusters.com. It's completely free. And the rule for that child is no biting. When they bite, there's a consequence. Check it out. The behavior board explains how you do it. And by the way, this is, I've got one more regularly scheduled live. We're ending these regularly scheduled lives because we're doing, the podcast has just taken off. So we're going to be doing 2 a week now. And with all that extra, there's a lot involved in all that stuff, as you can imagine. What you see is just a part of what we do behind the scenes. Let me rephrase that. What you see is just a part of what my daughter does behind the scenes. She does all the behind the scenes stuff. It's a lot of work. And so anyway, we're going to be doing the podcast, and we're going to be doing unscheduled lives. I'll do pop-up lives like I often do now anyway. But we're going to be replacing these lives with something else. But you'll see, it's in the newsletter. If you want to sign up for that, it's at BratBusters.com, and it'll explain. And you'll just be up to date on what's going on. A whole bunch of stuff's happening right now in the business. So, and we're being very careful. It's only 2 of us. We have no plans on expanding. It's just a family business, my daughter and I. And she does all the behind the scenes, social media marketing and planning. And I'm the product, but she's the driver. So yeah, she just tells me what to do basically. And anyway, so yeah, we're going to be ending these lives. I just don't have time anymore. I'm really busy. So anyway, what was I going to say? Yeah, I think I'm going to have to get going now. My voice is starting to go. I've been talking now for an hour and a half solid. So that's another thing with these lives is with coaching. I can coach all day, but it's back and forth. These lives are just me talking for an hour and a half, and your voice after coaching all day and then this just gets a little bit hard to do. So anyway, thanks so much for joining me. Check out the BratBusters.com. You can get the free behavior board, the toddler bootcamp course, the 3 to 12-year-old bootcamp course, or you can look into coaching. I am hoping to take a couple new clients on this week. I was hoping to take on more because there's a big wait list right now. I'll get to you as soon as I can. But what happened was my current clients that I thought I was finishing up with, they've rehired me because a lot of people do that. They'll buy another round of sessions and they always get first priority, my existing clients. So anyway, thanks so much for joining me. I really appreciate it. And my goal for you is that you enjoy parenting. It's not that you raise nice kids. That's just a byproduct. My goal for you is that you enjoy parenting. I want you to have fun doing it. I want you to wallow in it. Like, it's interesting because I've got a grandchild now, and I've always heard that it's more fun to be a grandparent because you get to hand them back. I knew it would never be as good because I have to hand her back. I loved mothering. It was the most fun time of my whole life. I loved it. I got all that discipline sorted out by the time they were 3, and then it was just sailing. I earned that. They were very good kids. They were easy kids. I worked for that though. I invested in those early years to get that mutual respect going. Okay, so I want that for you. I want you to enjoy parenting. Grandparenting, don't get me wrong, I absolutely adore her as much as I love my kids, but it's not as much fun because I have to hand her back. So when you love parenting as much as I did, that's not an easy thing to do. It's easy, you know what I mean, but it's not as much fun because I don't get to see her every day. So anyway, thanks so much for joining me. Happy parenting. I'll be back again on Thursday for sure. And check out the newsletter. It keeps you up to date with everything that's going on. We're making a lot of changes right now. So anyway, we'll talk soon. Bye now.